When I started questioning my drinking, there was no Google, there was no YouTube, there was no quick videos to watch to help me on this journey to drink less. I'm sure there were some books written in the self-help area, but they weren't concentrated so much in cutting back on booze. All I knew though is that if I thought I was drinking too much, I'd have to go to an anonymous meeting in a church basement that smelled of burnt coffee, where people got amped up on sugary treats. Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic right now, but that's what I thought back then. And I thought that approach was what was available to me. I wasn't on board for proclaiming that I was powerless. I wasn't on board to say that I was diseased, and I would pledge that I would right my wrongs. I didn't want to have to count my days of abstinence, and I didn't really want to retell the stories from my past or listen to others retell the stories from their past. You know, the idea of being powerless and diseased just did not sit right with me. Now, I'm not saying that that doesn't work for some people. I'm just telling my truth and what my journey was and how I found the path and a method and a program to help me cut back on drinking, drink less, so I could live my best life. So those ideas of being powerless or diseased just seemed really scary to me, and it just didn't align with my core beliefs. And it didn't seem very forward thinking. I felt like it was a bit antiquated. And putting a label on myself it utterly terrified me, to be honest. I felt ashamed. It felt like as soon as I thought of that, shame and embarrassment came up. It made me want to hide even more. It was almost like I felt as though I was going to have to put a scarlet letter on myself. You know, instead of scarlet letter of A for adultery, it was a letter A for alcoholic. I didn't want to have that label at all. So, and the idea of just talking about my past and what I did wrong, or telling stories or hearing other people's wrongs, I didn't want to spend any more time doing that, beating myself up or listening to somebody else beat themselves up. I didn't want to relive my shame and my regret. I had already spent so many years and hours doing that. Why would I sign up to go do more of that? I really just wanted to move past all that, and I wanted to think about the future. I wanted to think about the future where I was a woman who made plans, who set goals, and was, basically high-fiving myself for all the work that I'm doing today, and where I could be proud of my actions and, not living in past stories that were infiltrated with shame. So on this video, I'm going to talk about how my approach is different than 12-step programs. And again, I know I'm signing myself up for some criticism, but I'm just being honest, and there's no right or wrong about how you go about changing your relationship with alcohol or changing your habit with drinking or over drinking. And that's a big premise of my work too, that to move away from right or wrong, good and bad, I want to think of it as something that's positive, that is going to motivate you, and not, change is driven from positivity and love and curiosity, not from fear. The other thing was for my journey, and I felt like way back then that it was like 12-step or basically going to rehab. And I knew absolutely I was not physically addicted to alcohol. I did not feel as though rehab was the place for me. I felt as though I'm just a high functioning woman who's drinking a bit too much, a bit too often. And I just felt like there weren't very many options really back then. And it took me a long time to really find what works. And the reason why I'm sharing all this with you is because I'm happy to say I'm going to show you a short road instead of the long road that I was on for so many years. So some of the words in the 12-step program just really frightened me. And anyone seeking help could be feeling the same thing. And I think that perhaps it's 95% of the reason why a lot of people don't go and seek help at all, because if the options out there is about shame and regret and your moral values, and drinking is immoral and drinking is disease, that you're not gonna find change as quickly as you really ought to, because it just seems very fearful. So some of those words that scared me, that probably scare you, that I want to talk about today is the word powerless, the word disease, the label of alcoholic, the word abstain, the idea of proclaiming your wrongs or having to have to make amends to any wrongdoing that you've done to anyone or anyone that you have wronged, and to have to search for your moral indiscretions. None of that sounds like a fun party to go to. And I certainly also didn't want to be in alignment with something that said that if I drink when I didn't plan to, then I'm gonna have to start all over again. It's like saying that all that hard work in between means nothing, that you just have to begin again. And that seems so defeating. So these are just the messages that we get, that using those words, that it's fearful, and it's something that, like I said, might hinder people from seeking help quicker than they should. So I don't want you to be stuck. I want you to be on a journey that is starting from positivity and skipping out on all those negative semantics. So maybe sometimes when you use a scare tactic or fear, there can be change, but it's not lasting change. Success and lasting change does not come from negativity and beating yourself up. Yeah, and maybe for a while you're scared into submission and you're scared into doing what's right, but it doesn't last. It's like you're using willpower. You're using something that you're going to, run out of. You're going to run out of gas. You're going to deplete. You're going to deplete that for so long, because being scared and having fear is just going to actually turn you the direction to do the things you don't want to do, which is to pour a drink, because being scared is exhausting and nobody wants to live a life of being in fear. So what do you know how to do is to numb it out by having a drink. The other avenue that I don't think works is when we label ourselves as bad and we're told we're bad because of something that we do. We are not bad people. We're not bad or good. We're bad and good. We can have both at the same time. And when it's either bad or good, you're really creating a label and setting yourself up for looking for the things that you are doing wrong. And like I said, nobody is motivated to make change by looking at the things that they're doing wrong. So let's just break down a little bit. I want to go into why the word powerless doesn't work and why it didn't work for me. The funny thing is, I was raised, from a very young age, that I had a lot of power, that girls are powerful, that I could do anything. I could be anything that I wanted to be. So the idea of saying I was powerless was like, whoa, like that does not seem fun. I was always encouraged to strive for doing what interested me, to embark so I could embark on, something life-changing. And you can't really embark in something that's life-changing if you start your journey by proclaiming that you're powerless. It seemed like that word was such a punishment to me, and I wanted the exact opposite. So I want to teach and convey to my clients that they actually have all the power within themselves, and they always have. The second thing is the word diseased. So we've been taught that drinking too much and alcoholism is a disease. Now, disease, when you say that, it turns drinking alcohol into a medical problem that needs medical attention. So I'm not negating that there are certainly people that are addicted and who do need medical attention and they do need intervention. But the majority of people are not in that boat, which leads them to believe it's like all or nothing. I must be diseased or I'm not. I recently listened to a podcast stating that a disease is an abnormal condition of a living thing that impairs normal functioning. So when I think of that, I think of Parkinson's, and I think of my dad who had Parkinson's, and that was a disease, and that he could barely walk and talk at the end of his life. And I also I think of a relative of ours who has Alzheimer's, who wasn't even able to recognize the purpose of a fork or that eating was important for survival. Those are diseases. when you overdrink, nothing in your brain is disease, and nothing in your brain is functioning abnormally. In fact, your brain is acting exactly as it should. It's reacting to the substance, a concentrated substance of alcohol, exactly the way it should. It's normal for your brain to act the way it does and crave more of it. The pleasure-seeking part of your brain is like looking for that instant gratification as it was designed to do. That's an important part of our function to survive and to thrive. But we also can't ignore that drinking can cause disease in other parts of your body. So I just want to differentiate that that drinking alcohol is not a disease. But when you do consume alcohol, there is a risk of you creating a disease in your body. It can make other parts of your body stop functioning properly. People who drink excessively are at risk of cirrhosis, pancreatitis, and osteoporosis. And alcohol definitely has been studied and shown us that it can be cancer causing, and it can cause ulcers. So I'm not denying that alcohol can cause disease, but drinking it is not a disease. The other word that seems to not promote growth and striving to change is the word abstain, abstaining from alcohol. Now, the definition of abstain is to restrain oneself from doing or enjoying something. So we want to have enjoyment. We want to have pleasure. And yes, we want to incorporate that in our lives, but we need to learn how to create that without using some sort of concentrated substance. But we don't give a chance for our brain to create that because we've taught our brain to just reach for something that is that instant gratification and that doesn't, that gives us pleasure in the moment, but it's fleeting and we're always searching for more. When you have a drink, it only lasts for about 20 minutes and then of course you're looking for another drink. I didn't want to abstain from pleasure. I wanted to learn how to create pleasure from something that wasn't from a bottle, something that I need to learn how to practice making that again. So I didn't want to restrain myself from doing or enjoying something. I still wanted to be able to go to the parties and enjoy myself. And the word abstaining made me feel, it just made me feel as though I was missing out on something. It seems like such a strong word. And it wasn't that I wanted to completely have alcohol out of my life. I just didn't want to have it as much in my life as I was doing. So abstaining just seems so restrictive to me. It wasn't in alignment with what I was looking for. The other thing that the next thing that really didn't sit well with me as well is to proclaim your wrongs and make amends for your wrongdoing. Now, again, it makes you feel as though if you drink alcohol that you are not being moral, you're not living in morality, and that is so far from the truth. Having a drink has nothing to do with who you are as a person. And that idea ties into the idea that drinking is just wrong. And then we can fall into a trap of thinking drinking is good or bad, right or wrong. Now, I did just do a video recently about good and bad. So you can definitely go watch that video too, and how I debunk the idea of alcohol being good or bad or right or wrong, or this love-hate relationship that we have with it. Because this type of thinking of good or bad keeps us in this vicious cycle that keeps us stuck. So if drinking is wrong, then you must be bad. And there's no room for positivity. That your act of drinking must define you and create a label for you. And that just does not perpetuate growth and change and moving towards freedom from alcohol, to have to proclaim your wrongs. The other thing that didn't sit well with me, that's different in my teaching and in my program, the way I approach this, is moral indiscretion. So again, like where you have to ask for forgiveness and right those wrongs, or say that you must be, all the things that you did while you're drinking was morally wrong. It has nothing to do with who you are, your morals at all. The word morals, the word moral means for you to search for, when you have to do this, it's just constantly searching for what's bad. And how can you begin change if you're just constantly searching for something that's bad. It is, again, that good and bad mentality. And the last thing that I really wanted to address, and what it didn't work well for me, was the idea of counting your days and to start over if you have a drink. So that just basically negates all the work that you do in between. That, like, if you have one day where you drink when you don't plan to, that all of that hard work is just out the window and you have to start over again. I mean, how defeating is that? That is just creates this belief that you must be a failure if you have to start all over again. Like, who wants to do that? You know, it's like playing a game where, or what's that game where you play Jenga, you know, and it's like everything falls apart and you have to start over again. Like, that's the worst feeling. Who wants to keep playing Jenga if everything's just going to always topple and crumble? I know there's a challenge to it. I get the game Jenga, but I'm just saying that nobody likes that feeling of everything crumbling and being a mess and having to start over again. Or writing that term paper and you forget to push save. This actually did happen to me. Push save and it's gone. You have to write over again. It's the most painful feeling, like, oh my gosh, all that hard work was for nothing. I have to start all over again. I mean, that is just so defeating. So my approach is all about using every moment on this journey to move forward, to use those moments where you drink, when you drink and you don't want to. There's a sea of information in those moments that really help you address your habit with drinking and drinking more than you want to. There's so much for you to learn in those moments. We want to harness that and use that to propel us forward, to make strides into your journey to drink less. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with 12-step programs. That is not my intent here at all. All I'm doing is offering a different approach, a different way to think about living your life with less alcohol. I know that that program works for many, many people, and I think that that is a wonderful thing. I'm just creating a different approach is all. So I know I'm probably going to get some not so nice emails from people. I know I'm probably going to rub people the wrong way, but that's okay. We live in a world where we can have many different types of people. We're a mixed salad and we can have many different journeys in this life. I just knew that I needed to tell my truth about my journey and how I was able to begin to drink less and live my best life. And I knew that I needed a different approach. I needed an approach that stemmed from curiosity and love and not negativity and morality of being right or wrong if I put a concentrated alcoholic substance into my system. Drinking alcohol is not immoral. Drinking alcohol does not mean you're diseased. I invite you to take a deeper dive in learning more about my approach. I offer a free web class in which I teach you 5 crucial steps to drink less and live your best life. I give you valuable and realistic tools and skills that you can start implementing today so you don't drink tonight or you drink less tonight. So look below in the description for a link to sign up for this web class. And also, when you watch this web class, I tell you a way that you can save up to $300 in working with me one-on-one and being a part of my Weekdays Without Wine bootcamp. I can't wait to see you inside.